New York City, Brooklyn, Dumbo, stand up. Yes, New York City, you are listening to a B-Box for this city, the best kept secret in the city. I'm your host, your captain, Z-Motion, man. How's everybody doing out there today, man? Like, lovely day in the city. Spring finally here, man. Like, and we are back with another great show today, man. But first, I gotta say a big thank you to my guest from last week. That was Diana Hickman, man. Like, great music, amazing voice, man. If you guys did not check her music, man, you definitely need to give her a check, man. Like, she means business, man. Like, so a little tired in here, man. Like, last night we were at Paul's baby's rant, where Miss Cam was actually holding it down, man. Like, it was a good time, and we got back home at 4 in the morning, so not a lot of sleep, but we are back in here, man, with like, we are back in here today with my guest, like I said, man, like, so he heading from the land of France, man, like, all the way from France, man, like, living in New York, man, like, he made his name actually, like, he's actually known out there for his funny skits, man, like, he's like, he's a personality out there, man, but we wanted to find out more about him in New York City, man. I want you to give me a warm welcome for the one and only, man, Warren Lefevre, man. Welcome to B-Box, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Great. Thank you for welcoming me here. That's perfect.
Oh, well, love the energy, man. That's what we're about, man. Like, but first, man, like, how's your day going so far?
It's like a sunny day, so just vibing, just enjoying the sun, enjoying like the good vibes.
Absolutely.
That's all that matters, right?
We woke up this morning and it was pouring, it was coming down crazy, and then the rain actually started, man. Like, so of course we gotta say thank you to Miss Cam actually. So she's the reason why, she's a plug, like we say, like, she's the reason why, like, she told me about Warren. I was like, man, we gotta have him on the show, man, like, so just to know more about his stories, man, like, but first, before we even begin, I want you to introduce yourself properly before we jump into it.
Yeah, of course. So, hi everybody, I'm Warren Lefevre. So like he said, I came from France. I'm an actor, that's my first thing. I graduated from drama school. But I'm also a writer, and like you said, I'm like a content creator. I do a lot of content creation because I think that today, to get into acting, social media is kind of the key to get into that world. That's how it works today. So that's what I use that, and like I said, I'm like I also a comedian. I love to make jokes and stuff like that. So I just started writing skits. And it started to work, and now I find work as an actor because of it. So that's perfect.
That's amazing, man.
Like
I say once again, welcome to B-Box, man.
Thank you.
First, man, we're about to take you way back to France, man. Like, so where in France do you come from? If I was.
So I was born in Paris, but I grew
Paris, man, like, the capital, man. For those who have not been, one of the most amazing city in the world, man. If you have not been to Paris, man, you need to take your ass there, man. Like,
Paris
you would not be disappointed. Yes.
But but I moved when I was a kid. I moved to the Switzerland border next to Geneva, but on the French side. So it was mostly countryside, like the mountains. And but I moved back to Paris after for my studies. So I'm kind of between Paris and Geneva.
So the border with Switzerland, because I'm actually familiar with that area.
Okay, great.
My aunt used to live in Almas.
Oh yeah, that's exactly where I'm from. Like this is it's like 10 minutes away from mine. That's like that's where I'm from.
My aunt actually worked for some of the top restaurants in Switzerland.
Oh wow!
And she lived on the French side.
That's
it was cheaper.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So I spent a lot of summer. Rest in peace to her, man. Like, she's actually the reason why I know how to cook.
Oh,
yeah,
I love
my
that.
aunt, man, like, seriously, every summer we used to go over there and spend so much time, man. Like, so my aunt, she would cook. And then she would sit there, like, like she would make a really great meal, and then like get a plate for herself, and then make sure everybody watching her eat. It was like a punishment. Like when you're starving, you're just sitting there, all the kids in the house just watching her eat, and then when she's done, now I can go ahead and eat, man. So the reason why I actually know how to cook today came a lot from my aunt, man. So rest in peace to her,
rest in
man.
peace.
Like, so small world, man. So I know where you
crazy.
come from.
Yeah, I'm exactly from there.
So actually, the last time I went over there was a tram coming from.
Yeah, from France, from the French side to the Switzerland side.
Back in the day, none of that was there. Like, so very funny, man. So so you from the countryside, man. Like, so tell us how was high school for you?
Oh,
how was high school, like, back in the day? Yeah.
So I'm from an international high school. So because it's next to Geneva, so we have a lot of like people from everywhere in the world. So my high school was kind of like a bit weird because we had the people from everywhere. So Italian people, American people, English. it was like a mixture, and those people could have like their classes in their native languages.
Okay.
Meaning like the Italian people could have like math studied in Italian
Nice.
with Italian teachers and stuff like that. So it was really like great because it was like a mixture of all people, and you could learn from that. So I loved it. I loved
Nice.
it. I had friends from everywhere. That was fun.
And then what actually I didn't mention, so the reason why actually like I was going a lot to Switzerland back then, I was teaching a lot of dance classes there.
Oh wow,
I
love
was
it.
giving a lot of workshops.
Yeah.
But every time, even if they book some nice hotel for me in Switzerland, I was always coming back to the border
Oh, yeah?
to visit my aunt because I know the food would be better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? So like, you know, when after I was like, yeah, I gotta go see my aunt, man. So I would end up spending the night there when I actually had like really nice hotels in Switzerland when
Yeah.
I came back to her.
Nice.
And I do remember that like in Switzerland, people came really from everywhere. Like, you know,
Yeah.
people come from all these oil producing countries.
Yeah.
Even they was there as well, even the dance school there, like it was very diverse.
Yeah.
Very, very diverse, man. Like, you know what I mean? So I would like to know, like, what kind of music you listen to there, like, you know, in high school? Like,
So what I was listening, oh okay, that's funny. I was listening to two kinds in high school. I would say I was a really rock and roll kind of person. So I
Rock
was
and
listening
roll,
to a
okay.
lot of old rock, Beatles, Rolling Stones, or indie rock as well, like Arctic Monkeys, stuff like that. But I was also listening to a lot of reggae dub because you know Geneva is like one epicenter of reggae dub music.
Oh, okay.
You
I
have
didn't know that.
OBF, I don't know if you know about him, Original Bass Foundations.
Mhm.
It comes from Geneva. So I grew up in a kind of like alternatives, on the alternative scene in the music.
Okay.
Dancehall, a lot of stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that today it's mostly reggae dub music that sticks to me. Yeah, I listen to that mostly.
Very interesting.
I listen to everything though, but yeah.
Very interesting. So the one thing I did find out, so like, you know, going to Switzerland was the fact that since the country is small, people move slow.
Yeah, that's
Like really, what I mean by move slow, even the dancers, like, you know, I remember like, you know, one of my
yeah,
boys,
makes sense.
one of my boys out there, like, you know, Sebastian Boucher, man, shout out to him, and like, you know, when he was popping, he was taking his time. I was like, you know, like, but he's like, and then when you see him walk, I was like, it makes sense. Just like, you know, you can actually to go from the French border where you said
Yeah.
to the train station, you can actually go by bike. If
Yeah,
you-
yeah, exactly.
you know,
That's really
yeah,
close
it's
by.
really- it's really not like, you know what I mean, but it's a lot of mountains, a lot of hills, man, like, you know, amazing. So I would like to know, like, you know, in high school, like, you know, at what time did you start getting interested in acting? Like,
Oh, interesting question. I would say that it was always there since I'm a child.
Okay.
In high school, I was always like doing like some short movies
Okay.
already. I was bringing my friends from my class to do some acting stuff.
Okay.
I was directing it, writing the things, and acting in it. And actually, I was kind of like known in my high school to be a creator, kind of.
Nice.
Everybody was watching my. Only in my high school was watching my videos, and I was posting it on YouTube.
Okay.
You can find it if you want, but I don't recommend it. and it was only my high school that was watching it, and my family. You know, I was doing like 800 views or something like that. But it was fun because people like followed me, and every Monday morning they were like, "Oh, I saw your last short movie. That's so fun!" And you know, they saw their own friends playing in it.
So this is something you've been doing for some time.
Yeah,
actually.
I always
That's
get
great.
the passion for it, and I was doing theater as well next to that.
Okay, so theater, like, you know, so did you start in high school as well?
Yeah.
Or just, that's amazing.
I was in a theater group. That's
Okay.
how you call it, right?
Mhm.
Next to high school, actually, it was mostly adults. I was the only like child or teenager. And we're doing like shows every year. We were like creating a show every year, and
Okay.
I followed them for a while. It was fun. It was like the beginning of professional acting, kind of.
Okay.
So I loved it. Yeah.
That's amazing, man. So yes, New York City, you guys are listening to B-Box. So this is the best kept secret in the city. Today we have the one and only Warren Lefevre,
Yeah.
man. Like, you know, with us right here, man. If you want to call the station, the number is 718-577-2855. I'm gonna say it again, 718-577-2855. He's gonna be here with us, like, you know, till 9 p.m. So you can
Yes.
ask any question that you feel like it, like, you know, and he will answer, man. Like, you know. So you just told us that you actually started doing this. Comedy and
Yeah.
theater, like, you know, from back high school. So
Yeah.
the reason I'm actually asking this question, we just want to find out your journey.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, because most of the time, like, you know, when I ask questions, I can actually retrace your journey. Like,
Well,
you know, so
definitely.
not only makes sense to myself and people who are listening to us as well. Because, like, even in my case, if you go back in time, people that remember me from high school,
Yeah.
they can tell you, like, I was dancing in high school all the time.
Ah, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I can totally relate to you, like, you know, I mean, really, like, you know, making your videos in high school. You know, but at that time then, when you were making your videos there, did you know that, like, this is what you would be doing eventually? Or it was just like,
That's an interesting question. I wanted to become an actor. I didn't know if I was gonna make it as an actor or whatever, but I wanted to become an actor. Like that was my main thing. I didn't know that I was gonna become a content creator, because at that time it was like only YouTubers and that's it. But now it changed, and I was like, I wanted to become a YouTuber kind of, but I posted it mostly for fun. It was not to have a career. At that time, I did not really know what I was going for. But it just made sense at some point. I was like, yeah, of course I want to do acting or writing or everything in that field.
Relate to that. Yeah, I see. If you were to name some people that you would say, like, you know, that you saw acting back then, even on TV or movies, that you would say kind of like inspired you somehow, some way?
That's the interesting question. I would say that I'm a very huge fan of comedy. So I would say that my most inspiration, that's French artists. I'm sure, I don't think you know them. It's called Les Inconnus. With like
I remember that.
I know the name.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, that's I would say the beginning of like, oh, I love that kind of stuff. I watched a lot of comedy. I was watching a lot of stand-up, one-man shows, stuff like that, even when I was a kid. That's I would say that's the beginning of like, oh, I love acting. Then I would say I love like organic acting, like Ethan Hawke, for example. That's one of my favorite actor ever. I love that kind of simple acting, or he's just playing himself, natural. That's the kind of thing I'm like try to aim. You know, I want to be like that if possible.
And I would like to know, so like, you know, so why acting? Like, you know, you could have been a singer if you wanted to. You could have been like, you know, like in my case as a dancer, for example. Like, you know, so why acting? Like, you know, why was that speaking to you even at that early age?
More than the rest, you mean?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I was always the friend in the group that was like, you know, messing around.
You want to make people laugh?
Yeah, that was the kind of me. I was a clown. I was like always telling stories and entertain people. I always loved to entertain people. I would say that more. I always loved, like, when I was like, I love to see people like interested in what I was saying and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that that's the first thing that like I was like, okay, I need to do acting because that's what we do. We tell stories to people and they just enjoy it. Yeah, that's why I love writing as well, because it's kind of the same thing, even though you're not like in front of a crowd, but it's kind of the same thing in different way. Acting, because I started doing theater and I just fell in love with it. When I'm on the stage and you know the lights are on me, and then it's just everything became like. It's like, I don't know, it's like, yeah, like a trance, exactly. And you're like, oh, it's already the end of the show, you didn't see the time, and you're like, what happened? And at this moment I was like, okay, that's what I want to do, because this is so, after the show you feel so good. I think in every artistic field, after the show you get like this adrenaline rush that like comes down and you're like, oh my god, this was so good. Actually, I don't know about you.
But at the same time too, that only happened like, you know, when you really get into it. You can be on stage and it can go really fast and you missed it.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta be in it.
And then it's became an addiction, yeah.
I see. So what about the family support? Like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
What about family support? They're like, you know, mom, dad, uncle, anybody in your surrounding that was like into that kind of like creative scene, that kind of might be also inspiration?
So I would say that on my mom's side, everybody is kind of creative. My mom is very creative. Everybody on my mom's side, I don't really know my family that well on that part, but I know that my mom is very creative. So and she's really young, so she was very like not traditional, and she was like, do whatever you want to do with your life. She paid from drama school. I mean, she supported me, and I was lucky to have that. My dad is not a creative person, but he always supported me, and he still support me today. He said, yeah, he trusted me. I think he believes in me, and that's all that matters in a way.
That's great. So now another question here, like it's like you from the countryside, like you mentioned, born in Paris, but you grew up on the countryside.
Yeah.
So like actually on that side, there's not much happening as far as like, you know, being creative is concerned. Like, you know, people like they don't want to become acting when they're from the like. This is something that you see more in Paris, like, you know, because you kind of like that part of that surrounding. But so why, like, you know, I mean, in the area where you grew up, you still find interest in that and keep up with it, because that's really interesting.
From the that's true. I wanted to create with people, and everybody was like, kind of like, no, we don't. And I was like, why? Come on, my thing, do that, and everybody was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I was the only one who wanted to create stuff. Not the only one, but we were like only a few. I remember in my high school we were like a few artists, kind of.
Yeah.
We all found like we all like were hanging out together after that. But I mean, that's it. In Paris, you work everywhere. You meet everybody is an actor, dancer, whatever.
Exactly. Just like New York City.
Yeah, exactly. So we were kind of like seen as like, okay, those guys are kind of crazy, I guess, by everybody. But we were doing our things, and going back to Paris after that just makes sense. That's why I left. I was like, okay, now I graduated from high school. I want to pursue my career. I need to leave this place because I cannot become an actor here.
There was not much happening.
No.
There was not much.
You can't. We have like 3 theaters and and that's it. But I still love to come back in my region and to do local theater. I help a lot local communities to do stuff.
Okay.
I have friends of mine that are like doing stand-up comedy shows, and it's very rare where we are from. And I help them making contacting people, doing that stuff because I think it's very important to encourage local production as well.
Absolutely.
So I try to stay tuned with that. Yeah.
Nice. So what about telling us the first time that you went to see, like, it's a stand-up comedian, like, you know, or something like that, like the first time you went on a concert, just to like see those people perform, and what was your reaction?
To stand-up comedy?
Yeah, the first time, if you remember.
The first time I saw, I would say the first time it was kind of late because, like I said, in my region we don't have stand-up comedy shows. It's very rare. So it was only online, or I was watching it on the TV. The first time I saw a comedy show, actually, it was before I was gonna play.
Okay.
Because we had now in Geneva it starts to change. We started to have like stand-up comedy scenes, like in Paris, in New York, where you have like 10 comedians playing on one night, and you just have cocktails and stuff like that when you're in your. So it starts to grow, but it's. We have like 3 or 4 scenes, which is good for Geneva. But the thing is, so the first time I saw a real comedy show, it was a friend of mine who was like, oh, you have to play, you have to do like an open mic. It was an open mic. Okay. And I came to the open mic and I saw 3 people playing before me, and that was my first scene. And I was like so stressed. I was so anxious. I was like, oh my god, I can't do that. This is awful. Because you really like stand-up comedy for me is a very hard.
Absolutely.
It's still hopeful to me today. I mean, it's like kind of weird, but after that you feel so good. You're like, oh, I love doing that. But before, oh my god.
But most of the time, it's actually just you, the mic, and the crowd, and the stage.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean, and your voice, and like, you know what I mean. So yeah, it is. It's tough.
And your sense of humor. That's the worst part, because in acting, when you play a part, if it doesn't work, you can say, oh, it's badly written, or my character sucks, or whatever. You can find excuses.
Yeah, but when on stage,
you can't find excuses.
You can't make excuses.
It's only you suck, and that's it if it doesn't work. So yeah, it requires a lot of because I went on stage and played for like 10 minutes and I didn't get one laugh. It happens. That's how you build yourself, and that's awful. But then you just try to understand. It's like every art you try to craft. You're like, okay, why it didn't work? Why it worked? And then you just get comfortable.
You go back to the lab, go back to the studio,
exactly.
Put in some more work.
You work, you come back, you work, you come back. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's just life, I guess.
Most of the time, when it comes to your jokes, do you prepare most of them in advance, or it's happening on the spot? Because some people actually they really like to make, like, you're gonna find something to say about my jackets, my hats, or whatever. What kind of comedian or actor you say you are? So
that's true. Today we have a lot of people playing with the audience more than doing their own stuff, actually, or kind of in between. Sometimes they do their stuff and they play with the audience. I'm very bad at playing with the audience. That's like, when a comedian opens a show, they have to do only crowd work. That's the only thing they have to do.
That's also a way to get people comfortable.
Exactly. And one day they asked me to do crowd work, and I was like, oh, I'm not really good at crowd work. Like, for real. I like to write my stuff, to be comfortable in it, and just like any art form, just come, do your thing, and leave. And if people react to my jokes, I can improvise on it, of course, but it's still in my comfort zone because it's on my subject. But just doing just talking like, oh, your jacket, and do like improv on that, I'm really bad at it, and I tried and it didn't work out at all. But I just like played along with it. I remember the day they asked me to do crowd work, and they trusted me to do it, and I was like, I don't know if it's a good idea. So the room was packed with people, I remember. And I just came on stage and I like failed dramatically, and I just make fun of that. I was like, oh man, I'm so bad at crowd work. But I'd say that in the mic, and people were laughing because I was like, and I kind of, act it out and just left the stage afterward. And so it ended well in the end, but still.
I see. So, and I would like to know as far like, you like working or what your jobs is concerned, like, so when do you know like this is going to be a hit like this right here, I'm going to be able to touch people with it or make them laugh with it? Do you tell your jokes to your friends? Do you like, what's that process for you?
That's a good question. When I write stand-up comedy, and it's been a while because since I got to New York, I started doing less and more content creation. Okay. But when I was in France, I was like, especially in Geneva, I was doing like 3 scenes a week, something like that, even more than that, so nice. I was used to it. Mm-hmm. I would say that I don't really know. When I write it and I laugh, I'm like, okay, this is good, because I'm laughing myself. I'm laughing at my own joke. So when it happens, I'm like, it can only be good because I trust in the joke, and if I trust in the joke, I believe that it's gonna work, because I would be confident by while saying it,
Of course.
But sometimes you're like, I don't know, and sometimes you're like, this joke is not gonna work, but I'm gonna try it out. And sometimes it does the opposite effect. Sometimes the joke you think is gonna be good, I'm not gonna be good. Or opposite way, this joke is gonna be bad, and it's like everybody's laughing, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
this joke is bad.
People are gonna receive it.
Yeah. So I would say that I don't know. I really don't know. I just write my stuff. I'm like, okay, I think it's funny. Let's try it, and then you see. And then you craft your stuff, and many comedians, what they do, they take the same skit, they do it all over again, and they just adjust it until it's perfect, and every line makes a laugh. It's
almost like you got a formula, you just like retouch your formula sometimes, but it's the same formula eventually.
Exactly. For example, my biggest hit on stage was about color blindness. I'm colorblind, and I did a skit about color blindness, and I did this skit maybe 100 times. Like I did it so many times. Now it's like it comes naturally. I'm not gonna do it here, but some jokes didn't work, and I just removed it, and I tried new stuff, and then finally you had like something quite perfect in a way, that you're sure that it's gonna make people laugh, because you said it so many times.
Okay, so let's say I was gonna put you on the spot, and I was like, okay, right now we're on a radio station, people are listening, so somebody wanna hear you like make them laugh from home.
Oh my god! Worst thing to laugh to a comedian. Sometimes I'm on a date and I'm like, I'm a comedian, and the girl is like, make me laugh, and I'm like,
Because the reason why I'm saying that, because most of the time as a dancer, when you get somewhere, people expect you to bust a move.
Oh yeah,
you get somewhere, everybody's like, oh yeah, since you're a dancer, you want to do something, man, I'm here chilling. Like, you don't ask a boxer to stop boxing people when they get somewhere, like,
We feel the same way. I think every comedian or every actors, even as an actor, sometimes they're like, can you cry right now? And I'm like, why would I do that? Yeah, it's the same way. Yeah, there's people, they want proof of it somehow, and you're like, come see me, you'll see. But it's very hard, to just do it to say, okay, let's go. No, it requires, for me, it requires like a lot of preparation before going on stage. Usually I'm like behind for like half an hour, preparing myself mentally to just relax, because relaxation is the key, and that's it. So I can't and I'm not a good I make people laugh in general, but because of my stories, not because just I make jokes about like bad jokes or whatever. I'm actually very bad at using typical jokes, just a joke. It's more related to me and to my body language and how I say the thing.
So this was actually taking into my next. You almost answered part of my next question.
Okay, sorry.
Was not as far as how do you get inspired? Because as far as jokes is concerned, you're walking around, then you see something that you're like, I might use that. Yeah. Or something that happened in your everyday, in your daily routines, you're like, I might use that and make a joke out of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually have on my phone notes different folders. One is for videos, content creation. One is for stand-up comedy. And another is for like writing more deep stuff, like short stories or whatever. And every time I get inspired. But I always like watching everything around me and or doing. I try to experience as much as I can. I try to do as much thing as I can, so I'm getting inspired, because if you just stay home, you're not going to find inspiration. So I try to do a lot of crazy stuff to meet crazy people.
Like being in the club that night, when you were like at the
yeah. So that
part,
yeah, I want to be crazy that night. That's when we met. yeah, exactly. So I try to go out to experience as much as I can, to get inspired. And you know, sometimes I'm like in a train and someone does something and I'm like, oh, that could be a great skit, or oh, that could be a great subject for stand-up comedy, and I have like a lot of notes. And then when I need to write a skit or when I need to write stand-up comedy, I'm just like looking at my notes and like, okay, what's inspires me? What can I write about? And it just goes with the flow. Yeah, something is like.
I see.
Thank you.
So now, if I was to take you now to Paris,
Yeah.
like, you know, I mean, we just moved to Paris.
Wow.
So like, yeah, we've been doing a lot there. Like, so now you're in Paris, man. Like, you know, so tell us how there was a transition. Like, you know, I mean, you've coming from a small
Yeah.
area, a small countryside.
Yeah.
Now you're in Paris. Like, you know, how was the
First in Paris.
Yeah.
So like kind of like bad. That's the moment I realized, oh my god, I'm a countryside person. Because Geneva is a small city, so you know it doesn't really count as a city for me, in my opinion. It's a city, but it's very small. So I would say that when I came to Paris, I was like, this is crazy. This city is craziness. People are so mean, and I had really a lot of trouble to adapt. And I thought I was gonna like the city, but I didn't really like the city. Now I do, because I live in New York, so you know you have to like the city. But at that time, yeah, I was so out of my comfort zone, and it took some years to like Paris, like maybe 4 or 5 years to be. Even after 5 years, I was like, I hate Paris, and then I came to New York, and I was like, oh, I like Paris. Now I like it, but yeah, I didn't like it at first.
Yeah, so
It was too crazy.
So tell us about your studies, man. Like, you know what I mean? So how do you study to become an actor or a comedian there? Like, you know, just if you was to break it down to somebody who did not attend those kind of schools.
So acting school is kind of fun. To be honest, it's not like traditional school.
Yeah.
You do like a lot of, you know, you have like a breathing exercise. You have a class with called improv. You have a class with like scene management, where you look at the scene, you try to like understand the characters and what the motives of the characters, stuff like that. So we have a lot of like subjects, and it's very interesting. It's 3 or 4 years of studying, and it's quite intensive.
And that was all in Paris.
All in Paris. Loved it. Great professors. Some good professors, and you meet people, and you connect with people, and you create with other people. So that's, I think, is the best part of school for that. And in my last year, actually, I got stand-up. I didn't think I wanted to become a stand-up comedian at the time. I was like, I want to become an actor. And that's my first introduction to stand-up, like as a performer. I was in that class. It was the last year of my class, and I had a stand-up comedian professor. That was. And I started doing it, and every week we were supposed to do like 5 minutes a skit in front of everybody. And I was so stressed, I remember. And then I was like, oh my god, I love it. I love it. And then we were doing 5 minutes of like radio, you know, like I don't know how you call that. When you talk at the radio for 5-10 minutes, you talk about actuality, but with humor. Like comedians do that a lot. And we did that every week. And I had so much fun. I started my own podcast. I was doing a lot of stuff in the comic section. And that's how I started to drift in comedy more than acting, and now I kind of do everything, but the comedy is kind of the main thing today, I'll say, because my videos are comical videos, not something else.
And in your school there, like, do some of the teachers actually, like, do they come like celebrity, like, you know, to, let's say somebody, a celebrity comedian?
Yeah.
Do they bring them to school eventually to like teach, or like, you know, because that happened in music, for example, like they will bring like, you know, a well-known musician just to like, you know, come and share
their experience. Yeah, we have some master classes, so we have some big actors, stuff like that, but it's quite rare. It's like once in a while you have like a master class, but most of the time your professors are kind of like well known. They're not like hugely famous, but they are like well known. They have like experiences, kind of like, you know, big. I had like big professors on the theater scene in Paris. Like they worked in very big productions, stuff like that. So we still have people of experience, but they're not like Brad Pitt or whatever, you know. But they bring those people sometimes to do master class. But our professors are professionals, but not very like you know, famous people.
I see.
But still, they have a lot of experience.
Yes, New York City, man. You guys still here on B-Box, man. You got the best kept secret in the city. We have today in the studio, the one and only, man, like, you know, a Warren Lefevre, man.
Yo,
like,
yo.
You know, so, like I say, if you want to call this station, the number is 718-577-2855. Let's say it again, 718-577-2855. He's going to be with us till 9 p.m. So, yeah, my next question, Warren, man, if you allow me,
Yeah,
man. So, in Paris, man, like, you know, tell us about, like, you know, performing in Paris, like, you know, just beside, like, you know, after school.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, tell us how was that?
Performing as an actor or in general?
In general.
I'd say it was very hard. I came out of school, it was during COVID, so it was kind of like messed up. I came out at the wrong time. But it was hard because it's like the movie industry. I wanted to do movies more than theater. The movie industry is kind of like in the US, you know, it's very like closed. It's very hard to get in. So I did a lot of auditions. I couldn't get in, couldn't get an agent. I really struggled a lot. But like everybody, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Especially in COVID time, it was even worse because no production were like produced.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of trouble finding my path, and I think that's exactly the moment I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna do my own stuff online, and that's how my videos started because it didn't work. And now that my videos are like working and stuff like that, everything changed.
Everybody's coming back.
Yeah,
that's awesome. that's very funny, man. Like, you know, so, and as far as like, you know, I mean, the competition is concerned, man. Like, you know, people don't always mention about, like you say, like, you know, going to audition, like, you know, showcases and all that, like, you know, I mean, so tell how was that in Paris compared to, like, you know, like when by the time you're gonna come to New York as well, by the time you move to New York, how was that in Paris?
Paris compared to New York, or Paris compared to just Paris in general?
Yeah.
The competition. I didn't really feel like it was a competitive, you know, I didn't feel like any, you know, like they say, like a shark, kind of like, I didn't feel threatened by anybody. People are quite nice because everybody wants to make it, and people are quite like, everybody knows that if anybody wants to make it, they need to be nice to everybody, because if somebody's really making it, they need to remember that these people is nice, so you don't need to help them out, you know. So I would say that it was competitive, of course, but because, you know, when you audition, you have like 200 people, 300 people, and they give you a callback, and then another callback, and then a third callback, and you're like, okay, it's only 3 people. And I get that sometimes for big productions as well. And then they just don't call you. You're like, oh, I missed it. And it was just the normal life of an actor. I was auditioning maybe 2 times a week, maybe more than that at some points. It depends. And you know, I didn't get a lot of parts. I'm talking about the movie scenes, the movie industry more than theater. But yeah, theater, same thing. I was like, okay, we're gonna do our own stuff. So I created my own play. We tried to, you know. I think it's the same thing for every artistic field. You can't wait. You need to just create and see what's going on. And I think that's my message.
I definitely hear you there. Like, you know, so and I'm actually gonna ask you now, like, how was the whole pandemic experience for you?
Okay.
How was that?
So my pandemic experience, I would say at first, I think many people are gonna say that it's kind of weird, but at first it was kind of like a good thing because I could stop. I was in a rush, permanent rush, and suddenly all the entire world stopped. And you know, in an artistic scene, if you stop doing what you're doing, you're just gonna miss everything. But at that time, everything stopped. So it was okay to stop for once.
It was like a break.
So it was very good. And I came back to Geneva in the countryside. Just relaxed in the countryside. It was perfect. Then it became kind of like, okay, now again and again and again, can it stop? Then it was kind of boring. But at first it was fun. Then it was just like, it was kind of anxious because then I came back to Paris and I did like, we had different lockdowns, and the second and the third lockdown I was in Paris. It was kind of like, I was surrounded by good people, so that was okay, but it was kind of like anxious as well. That's, for sure. But in the end it was okay. It was not that bad. I was okay. I was in a good apartment. It was not like a small, flat. So it was okay.
That's fine, man. And I would like to know how was the... my next question actually goes to you. You starting your own thing, like, you know, like you said at some point there, like, you know, I mean, so you were applying to a large showcase audition, and like, you know, let me start my own content creation. Like, you know, I mean, so what was the big motivation to that, like, you know, I mean, like, and that confidence to be like, you know, I mean, like, I can do me.
I would say I know exactly the moment I was like, okay, let's do it. I was doing a clip for hip hop artist in Paris. I don't remember. I was like in the background. You see me for 3 seconds. But I was surrounded by other people, and a guy in how do you call that? Extra in the extras. Was like, oh, I have a big TikTok account. It's like really working out. I was like, oh, what do you do? And he showed me his account. It was like 100,000 followers. I was like, wow, that's a lot. What are you doing in the extras? Why are you not on the scene? You know? And he explained to me how TikTok was working. And he told me, and I thank him for that. He told me, man, you should really do TikTok videos because it's really working out. And as an actor today, I think it's like really gonna change everything for you. And I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to lose. Let's try it, you know. And I started doing my account, and I played a character at first, and I did like 10 videos. Okay. I was playing a character, a funny character, and stuff like that. And I was posting my videos, and I remember that. So I had my 10 videos, and I was posting every day. No, like the videos were doing like 100 views, 200 views. I was like, okay, it's not working. What? That meant I wanted the thing right now, you know. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna quit it, and I'm just gonna keep auditioning and stuff like that. And we see. And the last video I posted blew up. It was the last one, and I was gonna be like, I'm not gonna do that anymore. And it did like, I don't know, maybe it was 100,000 views, maybe. I forgot. It was a long time ago, but it really worked. And then I just kept going, and then it worked. It really worked out. So that's fun.
So it started at the 10th video?
My 10th video, yes. It started. Then it became like, you know, it was kind of like that, and
was that also during COVID, or was that?
It was on the end. It was on the end of COVID, but it was still during, like, you know, people were still wearing masks. We still had curfew, maybe. I think I forgot, but it was still at that time. But
there was a different time when people stayed home a lot, when people were still, the social distancing was still there.
Exactly.
Okay, I see.
It was still exactly. People were still on their phone a lot. That's true, and that's what maybe what helped me. I don't know.
Absolutely, because a lot of people actually, if you want, like, people who took advantage of that.
Yeah.
Because even I remember, like, back then when I came to the station here, and you saw the number that we did back then because everybody stayed home.
Yeah.
You could tell.
Yeah, that's the difference. Of course, people were there. I was doing
had nothing to do.
You're like, even myself, I was like, oh, let's watch something, you know, live stream, because you feel connected to people, even though, you know, it's better than the show to watch a live stream because you interact with somebody, even though you don't have interaction or real interaction. Okay.
I see. So now, if I was to tell you about like content creation, because this is actually the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people actually like us. Some people don't understand. This is like a job. This is a real job.
Of course.
You work out every day. You create, or like, you know, tell people, break it down for some people out there. Like, you know, I mean, we'll probably do it sometime here and there. Like, you know, so how does it work for you?
I would say that the hardest part of the job is you don't really know what's going to work or not.
Exactly.
So you just create, and you just have to keep creating non-stop. Like, at one point I was creating every day, and now it's kind of like a story. I slowed down. I'm like 3-4 a week. But before I was creating every day, and I was doing live stream on TikTok every day at first. I was like really crazy at first. And you don't know when it's gonna work. But when you do know, when you find the right, I would say, DNA for your content, you will know right away, and then you just have to like work on that, and that's what I did, and then it's gonna work most of the time. I mean, today most of the time it kind of works. Sometimes no. Sometimes I try new stuff, it doesn't work. Sometimes I try new stuff, it works. But that's why I try to keep my DNA, let's say, in my like. You know, the videos that really work, I try to keep it work. Okay. And when I try to new stuff, I know I would be like, okay, maybe it's not gonna work. Maybe it's gonna work. But I have my stuff that work, so that's okay, you know.
Yeah, you have what, you know, your confidence with, like, you know, you got your base.
Exactly.
You got your base.
And then I try to experiment outside of that bubble. And when it works, I can leave my bubble to another bubble, and that's what I started doing, because at first I was just doing funny character, and I did that for like a year, and then I started experimenting new stuff. And it started to work, and I was like, oh, now I can leave that to go there. And that's just how I kept doing it for like a few years now. Now I'm in a bubble that I really like, but I might leave it at some point and to do something else. And we'll see.
Especially with your new duo.
With Camille right there, with like, if you watch my stuff, you know, the annoying customer, that's her. She's annoying as the radio show.
The annoying customer. So when we talk about content creation here, like, you know, as far as like, you know, I mean, you were, So when you experiment stuff like you just said there, like, you know, so how long would you say it took you to really feel like, oh, this is actually happening for me? Because like you said,
Like you can make a living, you mean, out of it?
Yeah.
I would say it's been very recent. I would say since this summer.
Okay.
Before this summer, I was like, oh, it's working, it's fun, but it's not gonna. I'm not gonna make a living out of it. I'm still not really making a living out of it, but I'm very close to it.
Okay.
I think now I'm gonna be like full-time content creation starting this summer.
Okay.
So that's cool. But I do other stuff next to that. But I would say the moment I was like, okay, this is working out, it's when a lot of brands starting to reach out.
Okay.
A lot of people wanted to collab with me. There was a point where it was craziness. Like every day I received a lot of messages. Today is still a bit it's still kind of anxious because I have so many stuff to answer and so many people to answer, so many propositions to work on there and there and there. And at this moment I was like, oh, it's working out because people are constantly reaching out to me.
I see. And at this point, if you were to tell people like how many followers, for example, do you have on TikTok, for example, now, like, you know, before brands start coming to your way, like eventually?
Like that, I would say 140,000 was kind of the moment. I was something around that. After 100,000, it started to like, okay, something is happening. My Instagram didn't. Oh, that's the thing too. My Instagram didn't really work at that time because it was mostly for my friends. I was posting only because my friend don't have TikTok, so they can see my stuff. So I was posting for my friend, and it's been like a couple of months that it's working on Instagram. But now it's the American audience, not the French audience. That's the difference too, because I switched from French to English.
Okay.
TikTok is still French, but my Instagram account, I started doing English stuff, and boom, now I have the American audience as well.
Nice.
That's the moment I was like, oh, okay, Facebook as well. Now I have the American audiences, and that's the difference, a big difference. It's been like a couple of months.
So now combine the French and the American.
Yeah.
And then kaboom.
Yeah. So that's the hard part now. I have to make content for both audiences.
Okay.
To entertain both people, and that's because. But French people like when it's in French, so I try to create skits exclusively in French. But when I do like, you know, the mean French or the annoying French or whatever in English, French people love it too because it's still like connecting to them, you know.
Okay.
As if I put some subtitles in it, it works. So I try to find something that could work for both contents, both audiences.
I see.
That's the thing.
Like, you know what I mean? So like when you so let's say like, do you perform a lot in New York City as well?
Stand up, you mean?
Yeah.
No, I did a bit at first, but then I got like drowned in content creation. That's a bad thing. But I'm going back to Paris for a while, and I'm gonna be back on the stand-up comedy thing.
Okay.
And now I'm gonna organize myself. This summer I'm gonna take some time off and just organize my schedule better, so I can do a lot of stand-up, content creation, everything I love at the same time. Because right now I'm just like overwhelmed by everything. I just need to take some step back and just be like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
So I did some scenes in New York. I did a few scenes, but not a lot, not like before, but I did.
So now when brands come your way, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, with all kinds of offers there, like, you know, how do you know the one who are like serious and people who are just like, cause the IG and even TikTok, there's still like a lot of people there who are like, you know, not fishy, but you know what I mean?
It's actually, that's why you don't see me collaborate a lot.
Okay.
It's very rare. When I collaborate, it's like, well, obviously if somebody is gonna offer me 10 grand, I'll be like, let me think about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, even when they give you like 1,000, something like that, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know, do I really want to do that? Do I really need it? And so that's why I don't really collaborate a lot. Like for example, I have a lot of DM from like apps, a lot of apps, you know, new apps, new games, new dating stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I try to look at the reviews.
Okay.
And if it's a good app and I see a lot of people like saying good stuff and you know it's like 5 stars on the app store or whatever, like okay, let's collaborate. But most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's like 2 stars and you're like a lot of like, this is a bad app or whatever, and I'm like, okay, no, let's not like promote bad things. But that's true. Most of the time when people try to reach out to me, it's like stuff that is not like kind of fishy, like you said.
Yeah. And do you have like an agent or do you have like a lawyer, somebody, or everything is on your own? Yeah.
I do everything on my own, but I do believe that now, because the situation kind of changed the last few months, like I said, Instagram, Facebook, everything kind of it's kind of growing. So I do believe that now I probably need to find somebody to help me with all of that stuff, and I will do it. I think I will find somebody in Paris. I think when I will be back this summer, because it's kind of a mess, and I don't know what's good or not good, and I need somebody to help me with that kind of decisions. For now, it's okay because I can manage it alone. But I believe if it continues to grow like that, I will be lost.
I'll see.
So how long did it take you to get there?
To get where I'm.
To what?
To my accounts right now? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, sure. Miss M right here is asking how long did it take you to get to your. If you were to give people out there like a numbers, because like you said, some people want things fast.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you know what I mean? Some people want to get there in 1 week and they want to get to 100K. Like,
of course.
You know what I mean? But let them know they're like, everything takes time. Like,
it very depends on, I would say, your level of knowing what works or what's not. For me, it was a lot of training. I tried a lot of different stuff. I see what didn't work, what worked. For some people, they find the key right away.
Exactly.
And I saw some TikTok accounts, like the first video did 2 million views, So but when you watch it, you're like, oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the person knew what they were doing,
Okay.
For me, no. At first, it was like not good. To be honest, now that I'm like looking back at it, I'm like, oh, that was not good at all. Now I know what
that was
works.
the process too.
Yeah, you learn.
Yes.
You learn. Okay, that's working. That's not working. Why this is working? Why this is not working? And I would say that now it's been almost. It's been a while because I was on a live stream last week, and a girl was on my live stream and said, I was in high school the first time I was watching your stuff, and now I'm almost graduating college. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So it's been a few years.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would say it's been that I'm like very serious about it. It's been 2 or 3 years, almost 3 years now.
Okay.
But I'm messing around with it. It's been 4 or 5. I don't know. I would say it's been 3 years consistent. Like I'm consistent on it. Like every day I try to post, or every 2 days I try to post. 3 years. I would say after a year I was getting there. I had a lot of following and stuff like that. But I was doing it on the side. It was for fun mostly. So I was not really serious about it. And the moment I was starting to earn money with it, I was like, oh, maybe I could do a living with it. So I tried to, try to make my stuff.
I see. So what would you say there, like, it's the most important part of that whole process for you? What would you tell, if you were to tell somebody that, what would be the most important part, like, of you creating your content? Like, is it creating content? Is it posting? Is it like, what would you?
I'm gonna say something so cliche. And that's something that I have to say to myself sometimes, that I need to remind myself too, is just to have fun. I think it's easy, and I fell in the trap too, to fell in the trap of numbers and to do everything for numbers. Like, okay, that video did 1 million views, I need to do 2 million for the next one. You start to analyze everything too much. It's good to analyze your content, of course, but when you get obsessive, I was getting obsessive with the numbers. I was like always on my phone checking my statistics. And my friend were like, man, you need to calm down. And I was like, now I can post and just leave my phone for 4 hours and I don't know what's happening, if the video is working or not. And that's okay. But before I couldn't do that. I was like checking every 15 seconds. You're getting obsessed, and that's bad. So that's why I'm like, and that's not fun. You need to have fun.
Yes.
And I was starting to create content for the people, which is a good thing, of course. But I mean, not for me. It was really. I was like, oh, this could work for the people. That can work. That can make views.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna make views, and that was kind of like bad. Now I'm like, okay, it's gonna make me laugh. I'm gonna have a good time, so let's do it. And as the moment like, okay, I don't like it anymore, I switch to something else. And that's why my content is always like kind of changing in a way, slightly, but it's always like kind of changing, because as the moment as I get bored or I don't have inspiration, I'm not gonna force it. I'm like, okay, let's just do something else that I have inspiration to.
I see.
That's my answer. Hope it's a good answer.
Nice. So you've been doing what you do now for some time in your life. So where do you see yourself going with it at this point? Like, what I mean? So how big do you see yourself growing with it? How, like, what I mean? What's next? What's the next big step?
I realized that I have like kind of like a big community, even though it's on TikTok. TikTok is kind of weird. It's not like other social medias and stuff like that. But I realized doing live stream on TikTok that many people follow me, like my stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I kind of have a community, a big one. And I want to do more community stuff. Meaning when I will be back to Paris, like I said in the end of June, I think I'm gonna start streaming on Twitch to be more with my community, doing a lot of more stuff in that realm. Doing more videos, more big videos. I want to do like a lot of like Channel 5, I don't know if you know Channel 5, like more like journalistic stuff. I want to do every kind of things in the content creation, but to really like expand myself everywhere, so my community can like really like enjoy, and me, I can have fun to do a lot of different stuff too. So I think as soon as I get back to Paris, I will have nothing to do besides content creation. And so yeah, I want to like make my YouTube channel better, to start doing more serious stuff. Let's say like just skits on TikTok, but do like, I don't know, a show on YouTube, a show on you know, more stuff. That's my idea, and I have a lot of ideas, but I just need to sit down, relax a bit, think about it, and then attack.
And if I was to ask you, so from the place where you grew up to Paris and now New York City, like, you know what I mean, so where do you feel like you are like fulfilled? Where do you feel like you can be fully you?
That's hard. I would say the countryside. That's about. I mean, I know I need to be in big cities like New York or Paris to, you know, make that kind of job. My ideal would be that it works out for me and I can just live in the countryside and move to big cities when I need to record stuff, or, you know, that it's easy for me, that I have the money to go, you know, I can do a weekend in New York to record my stuff and come back to Paris or whatever. That would be my ideal life. So right now I'm kind of in between Paris and New York. So I'm a few months here, few months in Paris, stuff like that. That's what I'm doing. But in the future I would love to just, I feel myself in the countryside. I'm a countryside person. I would just, that's even though I'm a crazy person, I know, on the dance floor, but let's keep it to ourselves, please.
Yes, New York City, man. You guys still here on V-Box, man. Julia, the best kept secret in the city, man. Still with the one and only, man, Warren Lefevre, man. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, you got another question there?
When did you move to New York and what was the reason?
I moved to New York 2 years ago because I wanted to work on my English, mostly on my English. Because I love to write as well. And I was like, I did acting school, I want to learn writing. So I studied writing here, English writing, poetry, short stories. So I'm able to write in both languages.
Nice.
Like, you know, you can hear it. I have a thick accent and sometimes I have like trouble finding my words. But when I write, it's way more like, you know, it's like flows naturally. Yeah, it's smooth. And I love to write. And I think I write like better in English now than in French, actually. When I write, it's more, because I'm so used to writing English now that it just comes more naturally to me, even for skits or stuff like that. So yeah, that was the main point, to be able to write in 2 languages. So, you know, I can send stuff, because I love to write as well, like novels, stuff like that. So I can send it to, you know, I extend my possibilities. And same thing for acting and same thing for stand-up comedy. I can do everything in 2 languages, and that was the main point. That's why I came, and I wanted to experience New York as well. And, you know, I'm like in my 20s. I'm like, okay, let's just do it and experience.
So like you are in English school?
Yeah, I'm doing like English literature kind of program, where I study like old English stuff. Right, but I'm gonna finish that in 1 week actually. So then that's why then I will be able to do full-time content creation, because I will not have school in the morning. I can do just content creation.
I see. Like, you know, so yeah, so what advice would you give to a younger person out there, like, you know, want to engage on that route, like, you know what I mean, they want to be serious about it, like, you know what I mean? So what advice would you tell them there, like, you know, from you starting where you start to have like 140K plus on TikTok, like you said? So.
I would say, even, it's weird, but even myself, I don't consider myself like as a big creator yet. Even though, yes, it's working and I have many people following me, but I'm still aiming something else. So I'm still aiming. I would say keep aiming something higher than that.
Yes.
Because, you know, now I talk to people with like 1 million followers. That I'm always around people, content creator, influencers, of course, because that's my field, who have like 1 million, and I'm always like asking them what. Even that question I ask them, like, what, and they just say, stay persistent, keep going it, and you will
consistency.
Yeah, and you will come from 100 to 200 to 1 million, whatever. And so that's that, and that's true, because I started doing like I said, my Instagram account was like at like 5K 2 months ago, and now it's like 26K or something like that. So, you know, you just practice, do it, and just keep doing it. And that's my answer to that
So I have
question.
another question. So how did you meet an American girl?
Oh, that question is good. You want to say it in the mic, maybe?
Yeah. So yeah, Miss Kim is actually asking that, like, how did you meet your American girl? Like, yeah. So yeah.
That really helped me out, and I really thank her for a lot, because she really helped me out, and we collabed on some posts, and she has 1 million followers as well.
Okay.
So collaborating with her really helped me getting followers as well, and American audiences, because she has an American audience.
Yeah.
That's where it started, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Paris, and I saw her content, but actually I saw one of her friend content, and she's way less famous than her. Like, she has 10K, 20K, I don't know, something. I don't know, but she's not like American fee.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked, because I needed actors to do skits. I needed American in Paris.
Okay.
American girls in Paris to do the French dates on American in Paris skit. So I asked the girl with less following, she's called Morgan, I love her, and I asked her, hey, can you do the skit? And she couldn't do it for some reason, I forgot, she was in London or something. And I was like, do you know any other Americans? And she was like, I know this girl, American Fee. I'm like, oh, you know her? She was like, yeah, it's a good friend of mine. And that's how it worked out. And then I met American Fee, we did a few skits, we really got along well. And now I did a lot of skits with her, and every time I go to Paris I see her, we do skits every time, and yeah, it really helped me out grow my audience, so I really thank her for that. And she said she's always saying good stuff about me to every other big influencer, content creator, and so it really opened my contacts. Okay. Now I have a lot of influencers in my contacts because of her, so thank you for that. Amanda.
That's amazing, man. So one more question, man.
Yeah.
So I would like to know, so everything that you've been doing, from acting to comedy to even going to school now, being a content creator, what did all of that taught you about yourself?
What, sorry?
What did that taught you? You have to learn something about yourself doing all these things.
What do I have to learn?
What did you learn doing all these things?
What do I don't know. What do I learn doing all of that? I don't know if I learned something about
yourself.
About myself.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a tough question. Sorry, I'm like, this question is hard. What did I learn about myself? What I'm learning about myself? I know. I learned some stuff. I learned to be patient. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. I was not a patient person before.
Good things come to those who wait.
Now, before, I swear, I could wait, just wait half an hour and I will lose my mind. Now I can wait 4 hours and I'm just okay, that's okay.
Nice.
Now I really learned patience because of it, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to be, how to say, I learned that everything was kind of possible in a way, even though I'm not Brad Pitt, but I mean, I met some crazy people because of my content creation. Yes. People I would never think I would meet one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just met them and I'm like, oh, okay, and that's just normal people, and then you're like, oh, everybody is just normal. And that's a good thing. I would say now that that's why I'm comfortable around famous people now, because I'm just that's normal people. Before I was kind of crazy with celebrities and stuff like that, so I learned that as well. I don't know how you call that, but
yeah, they brief and
and I'm more simple. I'm more down to earth in a good way. Let's say I'm more chill now.
So what celebrities did you?
So tell us about some of the celebs that man. You're on the radio, man. Let people know how to man. Let people know.
Yes. So I work with Irene Dressel, who is she's the first woman to have won the César, is the French Oscar.
Okay.
She's the first woman as a composer for movies to have won a couple of years ago, and I worked with her, so that's one of the biggest I met. All of OBF, I was talking about Original Bass Foundation before.
Yes.
My content creation brought me to Dubstyle. So it's a record label in Brooklyn of reggae dub, and it's kind of big. And I started working for them as a content creator because of my content creation.
Nice.
And thanks to that, I met a lot of Channel One with a reggae artist, very famous.
Mm-hmm.
I met him, I met OBF, like I said, I met Mongo Zi-Fi, a lot of people in the reggae dub scene who are very famous, and I'm obsessed with them since I'm a kid.
Nice.
And I could meet them as well. I met Ethan Hawke, I was talking about that before. that's the kind of people I met. I met also like sportive people, like but athletes from France. I mean, I met a few people.
That's awesome, man. Like, Warren, man, like, it's been an honor, it's been a pleasure having you in here, man. Like,
Thank you so much.
What I mean? Like, so yeah, we wish you good luck in what you do. Keep doing what you do, man. Like, keep having a good time doing it. So, but before we go, we want to have you drop your IG, TikTok, all of that, all your social media. Let people know how to keep up with you, like, how to catch up with you.
Thank you so much. On my Instagram and my TikTok account as the same thing. It's Warren Lefevre, so WARRENLEFEVRE. TikTok and Instagram, the same thing.
Excellent.
That's where you're gonna find my skits and stuff like that.
Thank you so very much, man. You guys there, man. Go check him out, man. Go check his Instagram. Go check his TikTok, man. Like, he's a real comedian. He's a real actor, man. Like, what I mean? You'll have a good time, but as of now, we're about to take it to the wheels, man. Like, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling me, man. Like, how was the show to you, man? Let us know. Like, how was the show to you?
It was great. Actually, I'm not used to doing interviews. I did an interview, but in French. It's my first interview in English, actually. So it was I was like, okay, I need to relax.
I'll tell you this much, you did a great job.
Thank you so much.
Actually, like, really, so if you want, most of the time people will tell you, like, I'll make the interview feel like a conversation.
Yeah.
So most of the time I feel stuff that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like just talking at the party.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
You see, I have nothing. I have no written questions right here.
Yeah, it's perfect. I love that.
So that's the most like they gotta be organic.
Yeah, and I love it. And I mean, it makes sense. Like the question just made sense and was just like following one another. And it was fun. It made me think about some stuff. So that's good too, because it's always good to like think about yourself. Like that's the last question you asked me. Now I'm gonna think about it. But yeah, I loved it. It was fun.
Thank you for being here once again, man. Like New York City, man. We're about to take it to the wheels, man. Enjoy. Thank you, Warren, man. Let's go.
Thank you.